All right. Hello, hello. We are live. I'm assuming no one is here just yet, or maybe, I mean, if you got here this quickly, good on you. But I'm sure people will be funneling in a second. Should explain just what we're doing. I'll put this up. So we're not starting the podcast just yet, as Jared Cook gets a big gain
Oh
to the
wow.
Raiders field. Yeah, we're gonna do a little watch along thing until the actual time for the podcast begins. That's the plan here. And I got to make a video for it, so Kyle's gonna probably field questions for a minute. But yeah, crazy game, Kyle.
Yeah, crazy game as the big passing play to Cook's going to get negated here for an eligible man downfield. That really
Mm-hmm.
hurts. Um, I mean, it was just nuts. It seemed over. I had canceled my plans to go to Cincinnati because I'm like the Chargers aren't winning. I'm not going to Buffalo. Uh,
Uh,
but I was all set for this, and then all of a sudden here we are. The Chargers are back, and now they got a chance to either tie or win this game here in maybe the final drive of the season.
Crazy. 10 seconds on the play clock from what I'm watching. Justin Herbert just takes the snap, throws over the middle, and they're going to gain about 5 yards here. Are you ahead or behind at all, Kyle?
I think it's like 2 seconds, so it's fine. We can keep going
Okay,
with it.
cool. All right.
Yeah,
Here's what we'll do. I'll sort of call it a game. I think that's a good way to get us to do it. I'll sort of explain what's going on.
yeah, that sounds good. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
just react to it. Yeah, I mean, this is interesting stuff because just looking at it, it's just, obviously it's a huge part of the game in overtime. One of the things I do want to compare it to kind of is going back to that Patriots Falcons Super Bowl a few years back and just how gassed the Atlanta defense was in that situation.
Uh-huh.
And because, I mean, the Chargers have run 33 plays the last two drives. And I got to
Right.
imagine the Raiders defense is just gassed at this point.
Yeah, Kyle, I also have to say this could be an all-time great prediction by me because I predicted the Raiders to win by 3 in overtime. So we're on the verge of a very good prediction.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, I'd like to get the lock here, but this has
I
been
guess
exciting
so.
football.
Yeah,
So I'm not mad either way. This has been really good stuff. Um,
yeah.
big third
It's
down
kind of one of those
here.
games that you just want to watch and see what happens at this point. It's just one of those games. Here
Yeah,
comes the blitz.
exactly.
Herbert's going to throw it deep, and it is incomplete. Fourth down. I mean, there's no way they can convert 7 fourth downs in a row, right, Kyle?
We say that until it might actually happen again. So we'll see what happens
uh,
here. Um, this for the season. Uh, Jesus, what an incredible game! I can't get over this. I can't get over those last two drives. That 2 minute drill was just one of the dumbest things I've ever seen, and it worked.
I know it was incredible. I mean, because they couldn't get like any chunk plays really, but they were able to continuously get these 9-yard plays. All right, 10 seconds on the play clock, fourth down and 9, 6 minutes and 2 seconds in overtime. Herbert's going to take the snap to keep the season alive, throws it over the middle, and it is caught and breaks the tackle. Kyle's video is out as he's going through the inside field goal range. The game stays alive. Kyle, are you there as hell
Yes.
has broken loose? Okay.
Oh my gosh, unbelievable! Once again, they come up with. I mean, do you credit the Chargers offense? Do you say what is this coverage? I mean, I guess it can be a little bit of both, but at the same
Yeah, I
time,
almost just wonder if they're just tired. I mean, because like Casey Hayward, I mean, these corners were just completely winning all game, but like at a certain point, we always talk about how speed matters so much for corners. Well, when they get tired, I think that's advantage wide receivers.
oh yeah, definitely. And
Mhm.
I mean, look at them trying to run him down. They look completely gassed, insane, absolutely
And Ty
insane.
is still on the board here at this point. I mean, a field goal here, running up the middle, good run. I mean, I don't know if the Raiders can stop him here though. Like that's the thing is, I mean, are you going to be able to stop him? And does Brandon Staley end up going for a fourth down here? Could that happen?
Does he trust his kickers enough? Is the question.
Right.
You
I mean,
know,
this is just, yeah. I mean, you could write a book on this game, Kyle.
it feels like it's about the long length of a novel with how long that last 2 minute drill was. Um, wow, nice window to throw through. Unbelievable.
All
All
right,
right,
4:47, 9 seconds on the play
little
clock. It's
empty
cover
set.
three zone. Herbert's going to throw underneath and gets there maybe a little bit early, but they do not call it. It is going to be third down and 6. Did you like that call or no? Do you think that should have been a flag?
It was pretty close. The Jack dude on the Chargers sideline was pretty upset that there wasn't a call. Um,
Uh-huh.
but let's look at this again. Let's see the replay. It might have been a little early.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't look that bad. I mean, let's see. When does the contact really happen? I mean, it's a little early.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
that
that's
gray
probably a
area.
call.
It's a
Yeah.
it's a gray area. I mean, you can argue either one. Chargers fans will say that it should have been called. Raiders fans will say it shouldn't.
Well, it's just setting
Oh,
up
here we go.
fourth down
Third and
again.
6.
So
Herbert's going to throw it deep towards the end zone. Incomplete. Oh, I thought he had it for a second. That would have been getting them into the postseason, and now they will most likely kick a field goal, I would assume, which could field goal kicker is on. Kyle, is this going to end in a tie?
it's possible. Probably what they should have done to begin with. Mike
At this point,
Williams.
how do you not just say, let's just knee it? Okay, we tried. We gave it an honest effort. Let's just go with the knee plan now.
Yeah, plan B as plan B might come into effect. Hopkins has to make this first. Chargers special teams.
Yeah.
You never know. Let's see how this goes.
Oh God. I mean, this is snap is up, kick is up, and it is good. Sneaks through the
Woo!
left upright. Didn't have a lot of room to spare, but counts as 3 points nevertheless. And the Las Vegas Raiders and Los Angeles Chargers, of course, in a game where two teams are trying to, end playoff droughts or end, long, frustrating, been a long couple of decades for these teams. And of course, they're going to torture them one more time. They're not going to just hand it to one of these teams.
I feel bad for fans of these two teams having to watch this.
Oh, yeah. Or Steelers fans. I mean, how stressful was it to be a Steelers fan at this point? All you want is an outcome.
Yeah, I'd be a complete disaster. I mean, my game today was borderline meaningless, and I was still having an aneurysm. So I can only imagine when the stakes are this high.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm getting upset about us maybe going down to the 4 seed. Granted, we have also watched our team in Super Bowls, so it goes both ways.
Yeah. But yeah, that's fair.
I would say those are a little bit more stressful, but the games haven't been like this either.
Yeah, that's true. All right. One more chance for the Raiders. Next score wins now.
Yep. Next score wins. And again, a tie could this happen? I can't believe they could unironically just accidentally tie here. This could happen.
Well, here's the thing though, because I think it's in an essence, sure, you say let's tie and both go to the playoffs. That sounds great. But then the Raiders have to play the Chiefs. Why would you agree to that?
They go down instead of being at the 5 seed, they're the 7 seed. That's the downside for the Raiders. I think I run the ball here, Kyle. I think I kill some clock. Is that crazy? Is that an absurd thing to do in this situation?
Well, after what Jacobs did in the last drive, I wouldn't mind it at all. I wouldn't
because
mind.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they should probably run the ball. Just it's good strategy. But I'm just thinking okay, I get the logic. Okay, colluding seems kind of against the spirit of the game. But does playing for a tie, teams do that in week 4 sometimes. Carr's thrown over the middle here, and they're not playing for a tie. Gets a chunk play to about the 42-yard line, so that'll help you with 4:18 left in overtime.
Yeah, big play there by Edwards. He had a couple big catches in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Pretty good throw from Carr there. I like that. As David Carr said, the most valuable player ever. Not just of this season, but most valuable player ever. So good stuff there from him.
Someone wants us to just subscribe to daily Mets coverage. You think we should do that, Kyle?
Not a big Mets watcher, gotta say.
Here's a handoff, gonna gain a few yards. Yeah, I think that's an easy way to get blocked of just spamming subscribe to my YouTube channel over and over again.
Yeah. We encourage other YouTube people,
sure,
but don't spam.
Right. Yeah. 3 minutes and 28 seconds left in overtime. 2nd down and 3. Don't be afraid to run out the clock a little. I mean, for the Raiders, how about this? Ideal situation, kicking a field goal with 2 seconds left, right? Because even if you miss it, then okay, who cares? We're still in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to give the ball back to Herbert. So
Carr's going to throw it to the flat, and they're going to lose yards here. Yeah, because the concern is what you don't want to have happen is you don't want to lose. I mean, the chances of you making the playoffs at this point are really high. You don't want to find a way to lose.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. You don't want to sacrifice that situation. I'm trying to see if that was a face mask. It doesn't look like it's going to get called though. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to give the ball back to Herbert at this point. So if it means running the clock as much as I can, Ooh, that was really close.
Was it a face mask? Yeah, he got it. He did grab it. Yeah. I mean, what
Yep.
did he though? I can't tell if he grabbed it or if he was grabbing him and his hand was just sort of resting on it.
It looked like he grabbed him by the mouth guard, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he
But
definitely touched the face mask. The question was, did he
yeah,
grab it or was it? But I mean, you call it either way. Oh, good play by Derek Carr to Zay Jones.
that's a
Zay Jones
huge
having
throw.
a big day. This is it. Raiders are looking like they're. I mean, the Raiders are. What are the odds the Raiders are making the playoffs now? What they got to be like over 80% at least, maybe over 90% at this point.
Yeah. There's so I guess here's the question. All right, we don't have to get into it yet. We can get into it during the show. But that is a really nice throw and catch to Jones. Uh, nice job tiptoeing the sidelines too.
2-minute warning.
All right.
If you run the ball, I mean the Chargers aren't going to call timeouts, right? Just run the ball 3 times, and then with 2 seconds left, kick a field goal, or even just throw the ball away, and then congratulations, you're in the postseason.
Can you get down to two? Oh yeah, you can get down to 2 seconds with 3 runs. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. They probably would call timeouts if that were the case. Are they close enough for
You think
Carlson right
so?
now?
It's let me go back and check and see where the exact yardage is. Let's see. They're at the here. I'm going to let the play develop. It's around the 45-ish yard line. I'm going to check it again. They're at the 43. So it'd be like a 60-yarder. Like I don't hate that. Like you're running it, you're going to get some yards and then try like a 57-yarder, 55-yarder. And either you miss it and you're in the postseason and you get the 7 seed, or you make it and then you win outright and you get the 5 seed and it helps you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm for it. We were preaching a tie beforehand if the crazy scenario happened that ended up happening. We were 4 teams kneeling out the clock. Give credit to them; they both played it out. But yeah, I mean, I'd be for it if it's both teams ending in a tie, or you give yourself a chance to win, like you said. But most importantly, there's no chance of Herbert getting the ball back.
Running the ball gets nothing there. And let's see, how much time did it run off the clock here? I think they're going to kill it.
Yeah, possibly. It looks like they're going to try at least. That's a long field goal. That is a long field goal.
Yeah, but I mean, you think about the flip side is if you go for it and you try to score points and then you don't get it, now there's a potential of you missing the playoffs altogether. You know what I mean?
Right. But what happens
Whereas
if third down, Staley uses
there's
his timeout?
there's Steelers fan and the thing just pissed off. That's incredible. All right, they're going to hand it off again to Josh Jacobs. Again, good run to about the 39 and overlap, who's here during the pre-show. Jackson, it's your boy Overlap. Do you remember? How could I forget Overlap 618? I would like to see a reaction video on Antonio Brown's full send podcast remarks about the TB12, Gronk, and the Bucks. I want to hear your thoughts. Also, get the penguin suit ready. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make a video on that. I feel like kind of Antonio Brown stuff's a little tired now, but maybe. But yeah, appreciate the super chat. Overlap.
He's
Kyle,
all back.
3rd and 4. What do you do? Run the ball or throw the ball?
At this point, I think you run it. You're sticking to this game plan. I think at this point, don't risk an interception. You have a chance at a long field goal. Although you got to think Los Angeles is going to call a timeout here.
All right, well, they call a timeout now.
That's
I just assuming to get ready for the play.
Okay. Interesting.
But the thing is like I don't think the Raiders are totally saying we want a tie. I think they're just saying we're okay with a tie. Like they would rather win.
No, I mean I agree. But yeah, I mean, so you get yourself a chance at the field goal. Now the question is going to become if you run the ball here, it's a long field goal attempt. Chargers call a timeout. They're going to have basically 33 seconds left.
If you miss it, do you just punt it then?
What's that?
Do you punt it? That's a good point now. If you don't get the first down, do you just punt it? I kind of think you do. Because if they call timeout, you have 30 seconds. You don't want to, again, the goal is to not lose.
Right.
We're going to run it to Jacobs, who he makes it a moot point. He gets the first down, and they will have an opportunity to win it here in overtime. I'm assuming that's going to be the last play we're going to see of this Raiders offense until the postseason, barring maybe a miracle loss.
You have got to make that tackle. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Nice cutback, though. I mean, that was a really good play.
Hmm. Yeah, they're gonna wait until 2 seconds, call a timeout. Daniel Carlson, is he gonna end the Chargers season, or is are you know are the Chargers gonna get in and he's gonna end the Steelers season with a miss?
He
So the
barely
Raiders,
sneaked the last one in.
barring a blocked for a touchdown, are in. That's what we know. Unless a miracle happens, they're in. The question is going to be, this is now Steelers and Chargers fans who are the real nervous people in this moment.
Yeah. Or safety. Safety still in play.
Is it?
You never know, man. Yeah, so obviously Steelers, like you said, a missed field goal sends them home. Made
Mhm.
field goal obviously sends the Chargers home. Uh, here's Carlson's stat line. Very
All
ominous
right.
right before his
Here we
kick.
go. 20 seconds on the play clock. Daniel Carlson lining up. 2 seconds on the game clock. We will see when the snap happens. There's 10 seconds now. Snap is up. Kick is up. And kick is good. The Chargers will not make the postseason. The Steelers will. And the Raiders will. 35-32 in one of the greatest games of all time.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. Uh, yeah, I mean that was an incredible regular season game. Good
Mm-hmm.
stuff there from the Raiders. Be able to pull that out. Two really good drives in overtime too.
Yeah.
Impressive
All right.
stuff.
Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go finish my video. Kyle, you're gonna entertain the chat for a few minutes until I get back.
Yes, I'm going to take a few questions here or there. Go ahead and send them over while Jackson finishes his stuff.
All right. Sounds good out here. Quick super chat. Read this real quick before Jackson should play overlap. I'm aware. Are my messages coming through? Yeah, they're coming through. We need your expertise on if AB has any valid points. Did BA send him and hurt? Is TB12 his only friend? Can he play football? We must hear from you. I'll answer your questions overlap at a certain point. Appreciate it, super chat. I gotta go. Kyle, have fun with the chat. Question, people in the chat, ask questions to Kyle. Okay, see you in a couple minutes.
All right. So the one thing is I can't make the questions pop up quite like Jackson does because I'm on the second person thing. It doesn't let me do that. So I'm just going to read the questions out of the chat as I see them. So I may miss a couple, and then I'll answer them as I can. What's going on, Overlap? It's good to see you, man. Big win for the Bucks, like you were saying. They did some good stuff in this one, and yeah, they might be okay even without Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin. We'll see. So, anybody got any questions? Feel free to send them over. I'll be here in the chat until Jackson comes back. Do we play Buffalo now? Pats fan? Yes, we play Buffalo Saturday night at 8 something, 8 something Eastern. That should be a good one. Round 3 of those two teams. How did you and Jackson meet? I thought we discussed this on the podcast. So I guess I'll answer it again. I worked with his brother. His brother and I are good friends, and then that's how we met that way. Anyway, so moving on, let's get some football stuff here. Kyle, why in the world wouldn't the Raiders Chargers crush Big Ben utterly? Uh, that's a good question. We both talked about it that if there was a crazy scenario that the Colts lost, we said they should kneel the clock, that we were pro tie, that it was a smart, advantageous thing to do. They didn't do it. But the Steelers are in the playoffs, so they got to feel good about that. They have to feel good about that. They played really well today, being able to come back and win. So yeah. Let's see. Mac Jones is a vacuum. He sucks and blows. That's interesting take. Um, Absolutely no one wants to see Big Ben in the playoffs. Thoughts on a possible Patriots and Bucks Super Bowl? Probably not going to happen. I will be nervous the entire time, and I'll be rooting for the Patriots, but it'd be crazy if it does happen. Let's see. Why'd they call the timeout? Well, I guess, so the timeout's an interesting point because it seemed like a bad timeout at the time. Obviously, the problem is that it would have been bad if they didn't get the first down and then missed the field goal and you're out of timeouts at that point. But at the same time, like they got the first down, so it wouldn't have mattered. They just would have had to kneel the clock twice instead of one time, basically, to get down to the 2 seconds. So, you know, hindsight's 2020. They wanted to line up correctly. They didn't make the tackle in the backfield. Uh, Jacobs made a good play. So the timeout looks dumb, but at the same time, it wouldn't have made a difference either way. Let's see. Let's see. Top head coaching candidates for the Vikings. I mean, I don't know. You can throw your usual suspects out there. Uh, Todd Bowles going to be a candidate for just about every job this offseason. Josh McDaniels is going to be a candidate for just about every job this offseason. Um, Enemy might be a candidate for every job this offseason again. So plenty of guys who are going to be candidates. It's just whoever interviews the best and whoever the Vikings decide to go with. I guess those are probably three guys I'd put up there. Um, are the Bengals or KC coming out of the AFC? Just because you asked that, KC, I'll go ahead and say Tennessee, even though I don't think that's true. Who is your current Super Bowl favorite, not including the Packers? Not including the Packers, I'll probably take the Bucks. I still think they defend pretty well. They got Tom Brady. They still got some decent receivers, so I feel like I still feel pretty good about them. And I don't really trust a lot of those other NFC teams. I guess maybe the Cowboys would be third outside in the NFC, and then in the AFC, I'd probably put uh, AFC, I guess I'd go with KC number one, Tennessee two, Cincinnati three is my top three favorites. Um, let's see what else. Any upsets for next week? I'm going with Cardinals over Rams. All right, Jackson's back. So
Yes, I'm back. Did you have fun with the chats?
I did some good stuff there. I think everyone's enlightened now with my expertise and my questions answered.
All right. Good. I wasn't listening. Hopefully, you're not gonna you didn't say something horrible that's gonna get us off YouTube or something.
Yes, it was a bunch of inflammatory comments, and we're going to get banned here soon. So
Okay. In the meantime, so here's what we're gonna do. Yeah. Again, thanks to everyone for watching this little beginning part. We're gonna get into the actual podcast now. I'm gonna play the little podcast intro, and then we're just gonna get into it. Does that sound good with you, Kyle?
Yeah, sounds good. We'll get back to that. Let's do it.
All right. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I am joined here, as always, by the man who would never intentionally tie. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing great. Exciting game, obviously. An exciting week 18. Who says we didn't need an extra week in the NFL season?
Yeah, that was a very funny narrative how that people said that, and it ended up being like the craziest week of all time. Like week 8, Kyle, week 18 is the best. Week 18s are amazing.
Let's add a week 19. No.
Yeah. Well, then would week 19 be best, or would week 18 still be the best, and then week 19 would suck?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to test it out.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, already off the rails here on this show. Kyle, do you want to just get into the craziness that was this wild Sunday night game of the Raiders are in the postseason, Kyle?
Yes. Against all odds, they managed to make it given the circumstances of the season. They battled back. They won, what was it, 3 games in a row at the end of the year, including this topsy-turvy game. This was really good stuff from the Raiders. And the big thing was, I didn't think they played. Josh Jacobs was amazing, by the way. And I thought a few guys on that defense were amazing too in this game. But I didn't think they played amazing football overall and were amazingly better than the Chargers. In fact, I'm sure if I looked at the per play basis, the Chargers were a better football team in this game. But the Raiders didn't make mistakes. They didn't make mistakes on the biggest stage with the winner go home scenario. And that's why they won this game. Because you look at the Chargers, it was bad penalties in the end zone. Even if I hate defensive pass interference and don't think it should be worth 40 yards, it's a bad play in the end zone to commit that pass interference. That's 40 yards. Special teams fumbles. We've talked about the Chargers for years now. Defensive DVO or special teams DVOA this year is 23rd in the NFL. The last 5 years, they've been 32nd, 25th, 31st, and then now 23rd, and probably worse after this game. Special teams mistakes with that and the missed field goal, not converting on 4th and 1. Just constant mistakes that ended up putting them in this hole that they were down 15, tried to come back, but the Raiders didn't make mistakes, and that's why they won this game.
Yeah. I also mentioned they did come back. Like they didn't just
Yeah.
try. Like they succeeded in what was just one of the wildest drives I think I can remember in quite some time to tie the game. I don't even know really where to start with this game. Like Justin Herbert was, I mean, he wasn't perfect, but like down the stretch, like he made so many key clutch throws to allow his team to get back in it. I didn't even think Carr had his best day. He definitely missed a couple throws early, but like he also came through in really important moments. I thought that the Raiders like secondary covered very well early on, but we kind of talked about. By the way, if you're listening to the audio only version, I suggest maybe checking out the YouTube version because we have kind of a breakdown of everything that we watched the final 20 minutes or so in real time of the game and broke that down. And we were talking about how the Raiders just looked gassed. So I mean, there was just so many incredible events in this. Like I don't know, the Raiders getting up 10-0 early on feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, it did, and it just seemed like that there was every opportunity for them to like. It just seemed like they were going to win this game to start off, and they were going to run away with it. And the Chargers come back down and score. They take the lead, and then all of a sudden, it's just like here we go, and it's just like you know, it's all. It almost felt like a basketball game in a way. Because in basketball, it's very much a game of run. So, like
Mm-hmm.
you may have an 8-0 run in the game, but I'm going to respond with my 15-2 run, and that stuff like that's going to happen. This was a game of runs. The Raiders started off, Chargers came back with their own run, then it was the Raiders with their own run, and then the Chargers at the very end with the craziest run that brought them all the way back. So really good stuff from the Raiders there, and they played well, especially defensively. I mean, Max Crosby was a menace in this game. The front line, I thought, did a pretty good job in this game overall. Eckler kind of had his numbers, but at the same time, like it wasn't consistent enough for me running the football, and I think that's something that the Raiders were able to kind of slow down.
Yeah. I think there's for one thing, uh, there's a lot of interesting stats that we'll get into. I want to pat myself on the back a little bit, Kyle, here, if I may. Me predicting the Raiders to win by 3 in overtime. I mean, that's a pretty good take, right?
That was good. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly how it went down. I'm sure you
Mm-hmm.
envisioned it exactly like this game too.
Exactly. Yeah, I said that Justin Herbert would throw the ball 64 times. All that. I mean, it is crazy. I mean, 64 pass attempts from Herbert. I mean, that entire second, final drive, it was just throwing, throwing, throwing. Mike Williams ended up having a good stat line. I didn't even think he was like incredible, but he got it done at the end there. Jared Cook, as we kind of expected, had the big day. Again, I think that I'm going to say like Josh Jacobs was huge in this game. And we all like to say
Yeah.
like, oh, running backs don't matter as much. But how many times Josh Jacobs ran into a hole where nothing was there and found a way to still pick up 7 yards? I mean, that was incredible what he was able to do. He looked like vintage, look back to the, younger Josh Jacobs. Weird to say that, with how young running backs are, but they have a short shelf life. He really, turned back the clock on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought he was really good in this game. I thought he made some incredible plays. And I mean, those last two overtime drives are him. He made some really good runs in that and set them up for two field goals, basically. So, really good stuff from him. Carlson knocking down those field goals, obviously. Uh, Raiders are in the playoffs. So,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk, I guess, let's talk some Rich Bisaccia.
Sure.
Um, head coach now, right? No more interim.
Do you think so? I still think you could make the argument that you should probably move on, or at least you could move on. Here's what he's done. He's done enough that if you keep him, it's fine. But I don't think like you have to keep him just because you made the playoffs. I'm not saying you should move on, but I'm saying like I would still consider it.
Yeah, I think you can make the argument either way. I don't think I mean, from the games I've watched with him, it's not like he's done anything that's really amazing, or
Hmm.
like he doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like he's going to move the needle either way. He might just be a fine coach, but yeah, I mean, if they feel like there is a better option out there, John Hassan points it out. The Jim Harbaugh rumors came up.
Hmm.
Um, there's a few other guys I think out there too. If you want a Todd Bowles, if you want a Josh McDaniels, someone brought up the Viking candidates, and I said, those guys are going to be involved with every job basically. So if you feel like that's a better option, then go for it. But you know, he's definitely made a case.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the other head coach. Brandon Staley got some criticism in this one for going for it on his own 19-yard line on a 4th and 1. They didn't get it. You know, I think you probably know where I stand on this. Kyle, where did you stand on this?
the numbers are going to point to it as a good play, right?
Hmm.
I saw the fourth down bot said it was a good call. I mean, I can't really get mad at it because I said teams should go for it before. It
Hmm.
was a long one. It was fourth
Yeah,
and basically
about
one
one
and
and
a
a half.
half,
Yeah.
which made it tough. But at the same time, I didn't think it was this backbreaking play or anything like that. The Raiders still only got 3 points out of it in hindsight, so
Hmm.
it's not like I felt like they lost the game because of that. So I thought it was just fine. You didn't get the play, and it hurt you. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I think also another interesting thing to point out is the Raider. They earlier on in the game went for it on 4th and 2. That I think a lot of classic football heads would say don't go for. Ended up scoring a touchdown because of that. So you can play that game several different ways. I think people get a bit too results oriented with those decisions. I like the decision. Didn't love the play call itself, which usually I always feel like is an out, but I actually felt like there should have been sort of a check or something. It was, they were clear they were covering the middle and still run up the gut didn't work. But yeah, I think people nitpick those decisions a bit too much, even when they're the correct decisions, just because people don't seem to not everyone understands them, which is fine. But that's how I felt about
Yeah. So
it. Hmm.
exciting game though. Incredible that this happened and that the schedule was lined up this way, and it made for some good entertainment. Even though we both thought they should have kneeled out the clock.
Yeah, exactly. Even at the end there, we were both saying like, just get the tie, get the tie. Don't worry about the Raiders. Don't go for the tie. Ends up working out for them. They got the 5 seed now instead of the 7 seed, so they made the right call, I guess.
Yeah. So they
Hmm.
get Cincinnati. It's going to be New England at Buffalo. Those are our two Saturday games in the AFC, and then it's Kansas City against Pittsburgh, which is going to be the game that everybody bets on. So get ready for that one.
Yeah, well, here I'll even I have the thing up. Let me get this up. So these are the it's going to cover our faces, but uh these are the matchups. So yeah, 7 seed. If you're again, if you're on the audio, I'll explain it. But 7 seed playing Kansas City, which 7 seed being Pittsburgh. New England's playing Buffalo. That should be very fun. And the Raiders playing the Bengals. Bengals did blow out the Raiders early on in the season. Then in the NFC, Eagles playing the Buccaneers. The Niners playing the Cowboys. Very excited for that. And Cardinals playing the Rams. A lot of interesting stuff. I think that most of these games are should be exciting. Not all of them, but most of
Most of them. So just call out the
them.
Steelers like that, huh?
Steeler, yeah. I mean, listen. You know what? Let's go to the AFC first. Let's talk about. I mean, what we have to talk about the reason why this chaos happened, which I really do feel like I can't remember a last game of the season that was this exciting, and it all happened because typically there's like, okay, if this team loses, then chaos will happen, but they probably are not going to lose. This time they lost. That was the Colts really just collapsing against Jacksonville. Kyle, what do you think about this one?
You live by Carson Wentz and you die by Carson Wentz. And this time the Colts definitely died at the hands of Carson Wentz.
Hmm.
Uh, he was not very good in this game. We've talked about this team being Jacksonville as a team quarterback should attack. Carson Wentz QBR. I know people don't love QBR. It's kind of a weird stat. I agree. It's not the be all end all. His QBR was 4 out of 100.
Not
Uh,
ideal.
yeah, that's not great. He struggled
Hmm.
in this game. The offensive line struggled in this game. I thought it was just kind of a icky performance overall from Indianapolis. And I mean, look, you deserve to go home if you lose a game like this, and they're going home. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. They had some really good moments this season. And honestly, I thought if this team made the playoffs, they might be a sleeper because of the way they can run the ball, control the clock, and play some defense. But the defense was not good in this game. And just everything about them was not going well.
Yeah, you think about, they had that stretch where they, they blew out the Bills, then they narrowly lost to Tampa Bay, then blew out the Texans, and then beat the Patriots relatively handedly. And you were thinking like, okay, this is a legitimate team that could, I think that, I always felt like they were very matchup dependent, but they could really, do some damage if they had that matchup. Losing to the Cardinals and losing then to the Raiders and the Jaguars. Listen, two of those teams are playoff teams, but still, it's just a collapse. I guess my thing is it fair to just sort of put all the blame on Carson Wentz? I mean, like, I'm not
No.
going to say he was perfect, but like, isn't this kind of like what we talked about the Colts heading into this season of like their unwillingness to go after like, receivers? This kind of really came back to bite them this year or this game, I felt like.
Yeah, and this is something
Mhm.
we've kind of been saying all season. Even though Michael Pittman has been good, you know,
Mhm.
we I think we both can say Pittman's a good receiver. There's still not enough options here, and it's something that they haven't really addressed, like you said. T.Y. Hilton hasn't really been the same in a while. It's just, it kind of went downhill for them, and that's something that hurt. I didn't think the offensive line helped either. I mean, I think everybody on offense deserves some blame from this game, right? I think Wentz made mistakes. I think some of the plays were on the offensive line, and I think some of the plays were on the receivers not getting open too. Yeah, there's no reason that that should happen against this Jacksonville team, which just gave up 50 points. Like
Mhm.
it was an unacceptable performance. It seemed like, and then a lot of this should go on the defense too.
Right.
We were killing Trevor Lawrence last Sunday's podcast.
Mhm.
Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he wasn't that good in the second half, but in the first half, the man was on fire. He couldn't get stopped. I think he had 5 completions in the second half, but when you have 18 in the first half, it doesn't quite matter. So I think everybody deserves a loss in this one. Frank Reich probably deserves some of the blame too. You can't lose a game like this.
Yeah, and it felt like, like I felt like they didn't even run enough play actions. Like what's the
Yeah.
point of having the superstar running back that you always talk about establishing the run? Like take advantage of that, like use that to your benefit. I feel like they didn't do that enough. I agree. I mean, this is one of those things that they should blame everybody for. One of my favorite tweets I saw, I forget the account, but it said the nice thing going for the Colts is that there's already a bunch of clown wigs readily available if they need them.
Yeah, that's true. Uh,
Mhm.
this has to be like, is this the worst loss in NFL history?
Sure. Yeah.
Like that seems reactionary, but at the same
Mhm.
time, like,
I can't think of a worse one. I mean, with what was on the line and how messy this season has been from Jacksonville to lose to a division rival like this, and they didn't even. It's one thing. It's like okay, I think about the Patriots losing to the Dolphins, right? The Ryan Fitzpatrick game where they were they could have gotten to a bye week but lost it. But like they lost on like a final minute play where like Ryan Fitzpatrick just randomly went off and like you kind of got okay, like that sucks. Like the Colts like just got like crushed in this one.
yeah. I mean, and not only that, it's like you look at the Jaguars. So they lost 37-7 to the Rams. They lost 20-0 to the Titans. Lost by 2 touchdowns to the Texans, who by many accounts are the second worst team in the NFL. Lost
Mhm.
26-21 to the Jets, who are by many accounts a bottom 6 team in the NFL, and then lost
Mhm.
50-10 to the Patriots. We were literally talking on last Sunday's podcast of who is going to be on this Jaguars roster next year? Who's going to
Right.
be the head coach? All this kind of stuff. That's what we were talking about when it came to this Jaguars team. And you go and get basically punched in the mouth this entire game.
It's just it's incredible. It's a horrific collapse, and the Colts don't have a first round pick next year because you traded for a quarterback who now, I mean, he's on the roster. You're stuck with him at this point. I mean, it's just what a mess for Indianapolis.
Yeah. How about that though? So that's one interesting point. Eagles in the playoffs. Miami
Mhm.
and Indianapolis gave them their first round picks, not in the playoffs.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, the rebuilding team ends up outperforming those ones. That's funny.
So I think Nick Sirianni actually had an underrated season.
Yeah, well,
But
we can
that
talk
we'll
about
get
that
to that.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a second. But yeah, wild stuff going on. I guess let's move on from this one. Let's go to how about let's just transition from here to the Steelers Ravens. Kyle, this Pittsburgh team. I mean, you got to give them credit. Like they won the games. That's the point of sports is to win the games, and they did win 9.5 football games.
9.5 football games, that's right.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, somehow they won this game. I mean, you look at the numbers on this game, and it's amazing that anybody watched this. Like, um,
Mhm.
the running game was atrocious. Chase Claypool was their leading rusher, but end of the game, they went down and got what they needed. They got that touchdown at the end to tie it up, and then got the field goal drive in overtime. Obviously, Ben was pretty good those last 2 drives, and he keeps doing this the last 2 drives. It doesn't matter how bad he is the whole game, but these last 2 drives, he makes it happen and gets them in the postseason. Their season stays alive. Um, I do have to. I guess the one thing I took away from this is Pat Fryermuth is just going to be one superstar of a tight end in this league sooner or later, right?
What really helps him too is the how the whole crowd goes like move. I think that's like that does a lot for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Hmm
he I mean, honestly, yeah, good it's a good niche.
Good branding. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
mean, Pat Move is great. I mean, the third, I mean, really what it came down to, this game came down to that 4th down and 8, where the Steelers, you need a win, a tie, and you're out. So they needed to win. They convert on the 4th and 8. Big Ben did kind of underthrow it, but you got the job done and were able to get in field goal range there. So
Kinda
I guess,
underthrew it. That was the most Big Ben looking throw I've ever seen from the last 2 years. That thing
uh,
floated to McLeod. I don't know how it even got completed.
yeah, it looked like it was like a flip pass, except he threw it overhanded.
Yeah. Uh, I think my wife could have made that throw.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I've never seen her throw a football. Maybe she's really good, and it's actually not that much of a, what am I trying to say? What's the opposite of a compliment?
Uh,
Insult to Big Ben.
yeah, I'm not sure that's the case.
Okay, well, babe, yeah. I mean, here's what I'll say about the Ravens. Like, they did an incredible job getting to this point. Like the fact that they're
Mhm.
playing meaningful games on the last game of the season, and like we're this close with all the injuries they had. Like, it's pretty impressive that they were able to get here as well.
It was. I mean, given the circumstances, this was always going to be tough. Um, the I mean, look at this last run of the season. They basically needed what, one win to get into the postseason? No, two wins, sorry, to get into the postseason. They lost 2019 to the Steelers, lost 24-22 to the Browns, which I believe was the game Lamar got hurt. Or yeah. Lost 31-30 to the Packers, lost 41-21 to the Bengals, which obviously was the blowout, lost 20-19 to the Rams, and then lost 16-13 to the Steelers. So they played one, two, three, four, five playoff teams, plus the Browns, who are a pretty good team. And they had all of one 3 points or less loss except for the Bengals game. And then two of them came down to 2 point conversions.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy stuff with Baltimore, and again, kind of going back to like the Steelers for a second. Like what Mike Tomlin's done is incredible, right? I mean, we keep talking week after week about how this team is so horrible. How are they winning so many games? This is going. The Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl.
No, they're not. But this has been interesting to see. It's been a throwback performance for Ben at times. Like I said, it just doesn't seem. It's crazy to me because he's so bad for like quarters and like literally
Yeah.
whole games, and then
hmm
he'll just pull it out on like the last drive of the game. He literally does this all the time. But yeah, I mean, give a ton of credit to Tomlin. Give a ton of credit to this defense coming up big in this game. Your favorite guy, T.J. Watt, getting the sack record, tying it.
hmm
Um, Good stuff from them. They made it. Despite everything else, they made it.
Yep, they're officially a playoff team, right? TJ Watt tied the sack record. Could have maybe won it, gotten it, had there been that, there was that one that was initially ruled a sack, but then got ruled, I believe it was like a tackle for loss instead of a sack because the ball was fumbled, which is probably the right call, but still interesting stuff there. Steelers, probably the team you most want to play in the playoffs, right?
I'd say so.
hmm
Basically, the state of Pennsylvania is going to get bet against a lot week one of the postseason.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. But hey, get another big man game, get that going for you. Let's move on. Where do you want to go here? How about let's think of some of these other overtime games. Let's go to the Niners Rams again. So many wild games here. The fact that this one is this far along the list because this was another just absurd game where I was thinking, the Niners were down 7 in the fourth quarter with only a couple minutes left. And I was kind of thinking like, is this sort of the last we see of Jimmy Garoppolo as a 49ers quarterback or even as a starting quarterback in football? Is this the end of the Garoppolo era, which will always be defined by him missing Emmanuel Sanders on a deep route in the Super Bowl? But he comes through here. And again, he ran the offense. It wasn't like he was incredible here, but he does have a nice drive to allow him to get into the end zone, score a touchdown. They get the field goal drive in overtime to win this game. And kind of again, even if the 49ers end up losing in the playoffs, at least you get this bright spot for Jimmy G and for the end of, what we kind of all assume will be the last time we see Jimmy Garoppolo as a starter for the 49ers.
Yeah, yeah, gut-wrenching moment, obviously, because the Saints put the pressure on them, and they had to go out and win this one. They come back in the 21 points in the fourth quarter against this Rams defense. And I think they threw a pick in the end zone in the second half too, right? Or was that in the first half? It's been such a long day, I can't remember.
What was that? Sorry, my headphones cut out.
I was gonna say, and they threw a pick in the end zone in the second half too. Yeah, second half or yeah, so they threw a pick in the end zone and still managed to score 21 points in the second half to win this game. I mean,
Hmm.
it was just really good stuff, I thought, overall. They ran the ball really well as they do every game. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't, numbers aren't amazing on Garoppolo, but I thought he did a good job in this game. And he bounced back, like you said. He put together some good drives, and he brought his team to the playoffs.
Right. Well, I mean, again, did he bring his team to the playoffs? Did the team bring him to the playoffs? I guess you can be
A
the
little bit of
judge.
both.
Yeah. I mean, again, I thought Garoppolo wasn't great in the first half, but I thought he really did turn it on in the second half. And the offense, you could say that about the entire offense, including Jawan Jennings. Like, I don't know who this guy is, but like he like had some like really like legit routes in this one. So that's a fine potentially for San Francisco, who's and again, I have to say this, like, thank God the Niners are in the playoffs. Like they deserve to be in the playoffs. They're a playoff team. Uh, there were some teams that I feel bad about missing the playoffs. I would have felt probably the worst about the Niners if they won or if they, weren't able to get in here just because they have to play the Rams the final week of the season.
Yeah, I think so. You just wanted to avoid the Saints, didn't you?
I mean, the Saints weren't going to play the Buccaneers anyway, so I don't mind if they're in.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm.
I thought the
Well, because
scenario was that they would have been the 7 seed.
I thought it was possible, but the issue was that in order for the Saints to get in as the 7 seed, then the Buccaneers would get the 2 seed. Like there wasn't a scenario where both could happen, basically.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Interesting. Um, yeah, I mean, I think the Niners are a better football team, so yes, I agree.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's obviously a good thing. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the been kind of the story of the Shanahan era is, you talked about Jennings, who was pretty good at Tennessee, actually. You know,
Okay.
he just manages to find these playmakers though when he really needs them. And even though, we know about Debo, we know about George Kittle, who had an awesome 5 catch for 10-yard game. Um, you know about those guys, but it's like once again, Brandon Ayuk comes up with some big plays. As you were saying, Jawan Jennings comes up with some really nice plays.
Hmm.
Elijah Mitchell this season has been, a stud for them. Jump basically hasty in the rotation, and they also, you know, as usual, they have some injuries in the running back spots. He comes up and is big for them this year. The defense comes up with multiple sacks and multiple interceptions. So just a good game for the 49ers overall to come back and get this win. Definitely deserving of the playoff spot.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting point by Stonkman. Stonkman says OBJ doesn't fight for the ball and causes interceptions. He doesn't try to block up passes when they're uncatchable. I mean, so what happened in overtime? And like we should bring this up. Odell was kind of open. It was a bit of an underthrown ball from Stafford, and Odell did not really make an effort. It seemed to win that contested catch battle right there. Did you have an opinion on that?
I'd probably, I don't know, like maybe. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at some of the interceptions that are thrown to him to have like
Okay.
a
Hmm.
opinion that says like, oh yeah, this is definitely a problem with this game. On that play, it looked like he definitely could have came back and at least broken up the play, but didn't make the play obviously. So tough break. But I mean, I'd still say that the Rams are happy that they have Odell this season.
Right. Unfortunate error there. And again, uh, Stafford now, another couple of interceptions on his resume. The Rams have a little bit limped into this postseason. We were kind of feeling very, very optimistic about the Rams. And listen, like they've been winning games, but I guess they haven't looked as dominant as maybe you would hope these past few weeks. They lost this week, obviously. They barely beat the Ravens. They didn't look great against the Vikings as well. So, I still think the Rams are a very good team. They host the Cardinals wild Cardinal weekend, if you will. Uh, that's interesting. Also, overlap 618. Can the Niners make the NFC Championship game? Replay of a few years ago. I think they should be favored versus the Cowboys. Thoughts? Uh, I'll say probably not. Kyle, you've been higher on the 49ers than I have. How do you feel about this?
Uh Like, I guess if I went through it, so obviously if they win I mean, I don't think they should be favored against the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys should win
Hmm.
that game. I have a tough time seeing San Francisco covering Dallas. I think that's going to be an issue.
Hmm.
Um, but like as far as it goes, like if they manage to beat Dallas, I don't think Dallas is unbeatable. It goes
Hmm.
to beating Green Bay and Lambeau.
Right.
And I guess, do I think this team can beat Green Bay and Lambeau? We've seen teams kind of run on Green Bay.
The first time these two teams played, it did go to a last second field goal for the Packers to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, we've seen teams run on Green Bay. Once again, I don't know how I think it's going to be tough for San Francisco to cover Green Bay,
Hmm.
but I don't think it's impossible. I think they're going to be underdogs in this game and heavy underdogs against Green Bay still.
Yeah, got their work cut out for them. But again, they also do feel like, I think about these wild card teams, and I kind of feel like they all three feel like they're different tiers. I think the Cardinals clearly feel like a higher tier to me if DeAndre Hopkins is healthy, which is a question. But if he is and he comes back, I think the Cardinals are clearly better than the Niners, and Niners are clearly better than the Eagles.
Yes, I agree. Um, yeah, yeah, I think I agree. So it is kind of funny how it kind of worked out that way. Um, we'll see what happens with all three of these teams. I don't know. I don't know. Is what's his name even going to go? Hopkins next week? Probably not.
I don't know. I haven't heard any updates. I know that when it happened, they said they were hopeful that he would come back, but I don't know if there's been any updates or not.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, okay. Let's throw it this way. If you were to predict over or under 1.5 wild card teams winning
In the NFC or overall?
overall.
Okay, let's see. Let me pull up the chart again just so we have it so everyone can see. So, six wildcard teams are the Eagles, the 49ers, the Cardinals, the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Raiders. So, uh, if I had to bet, I mean, I'm kind of thinking like, what are the ones that I think seem realistic? And I think that I could see the Patriots, the 49ers, and the Cardinals feel the most realistic. So, I guess I would probably take the over, but I think that 1.5 feels like the correct over under like prediction
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Hmm.
It'd be interesting to see. I think they have good shots, but I'm probably going to go under on those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why so?
Um, I think that second Patriots game kind of spooked me a little bit. I think Josh
Hmm.
Allen, when he's on, is incredibly difficult to beat because he's the best player on any football field when
Hmm.
he's on. And I think that's going to be a problem for us if we match up that way. And we'll see how we cover in that game, but it comes down to that. How's the coverage and how are we holding up against those guys? I got to imagine that Buffalo probably wins that one. And then at that point, I'm picking either one of Dallas or Los Angeles to get a win there.
Yeah, it should be fascinating. Let's move on. Let's go to just because it ties in nicely. Let's talk Seahawks Cardinals just to talk about how you know, blown opportunity for Arizona, right? I mean, you win this
Hmm.
game, you can win your division here, and they would have avoided the 4 seed on top of that. So definitely, it's hard to view this as any other way. I believe they would have been the 3 seed. Yeah, they would have been the 3 seed had they pulled this one off. So hard to think of this as anything other than a missed opportunity for Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Offense scored 23 points. Rashad Penny's the best running back in football, so that was obviously tough to defend.
Uh,
But I mean, yeah, I mean, this was like you said, blown opportunity is the perfect word for it. They started up early too with the pick, scoop and score, and then all of a sudden they just couldn't get it going. And Seattle started to, gain some momentum, and it seemed like that was that. Because I don't know, like, did you watch this game and think that's like Arizona was a way better team than Seattle, and that they just lost?
no, and that's a little bit concerning, I think, if you're a Cardinals fan.
Yeah, I was trying to think, is it like, okay, are the Cardinals just not playing good football right now? Or is it that, Seattle just had such a bummer of a year because of everything that happened?
Right. Well, it is. I mean, maybe a little bit of both. I mean, you look at yards per play. The Seahawks had 7.6 yards per play. The Cardinals 4.2. So that's
Yeah.
a huge drop off. And again, the Cardinals were down 2 scores. They kind of get a touchdown late to make it look a little bit more close before the onside kick not being able to convert. Um, I think that the Cardinals just again they're a wild card. Like that's legitimately what they are. Which you can make that as a pun in multiple different ways. But the just because of the whole DeAndre Hopkins thing, I I've seen this Cardinals team look like they can beat anyone in football, and that they are better than anyone in football at certain times this season. The question is, is DeAndre Hopkins really leaving that much of an impact? And if so, I still think this is a scary team. They're a team that I don't want to play in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, they're definitely a team I wouldn't want to match up with, especially not knowing the injury report. Um,
Hmm.
from the latest, I'm trying to see if there's any latest update. Haven't seen a whole lot. I saw one thing that said Kingsbury said he isn't sure
Hmm.
if Hopkins and Watt will be back for the playoffs. Uh, I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting to see if he's going to be able to go. I don't know if he's going to be able to, and if he does play, what percentage is he going to be at? So,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough break for them because it definitely looked like it was going well, but it's also, I think kind of a knock on your offense when one guy changes everything. I mean, we talked about this, and Mike Vrabel. We talked about Kingsbury as a Coach of the Year candidate. Mike Vrabel's going
Hmm.
to win Coach of the Year because he lost his best player and adjusted enough to win games.
Hmm.
Cliff Kingsbury hasn't done that for me. And I'm not putting it all on Cliff Kingsbury. The players are obviously on the field and have to execute. And it just didn't seem like these receivers are good enough to win without him. And it was such a huge part of their offense.
I mean, the Cardinals did go 2-1 without Kyler Murray.
Yeah, but with Hopkins, I mean, things have just looked different to me. Things have looked
Hmm.
different, especially with Hopkins not on the field. And I think that's a problem.
Yeah. Again, what the JJ Watt is another wild card thing. And again, maybe Hopkins isn't available week one, but what if they can they beat the Rams without Hopkins? It's possible. If they could do that, maybe he's back for divisional rounds. So yeah, everything I've Googled, I see there everyone's just saying, on not sure. Maybe he'll be back, maybe he won't. So should be fascinating stuff. We don't spend forever on this game. Want to move on?
Yeah, we can move on. Nice
All
to get
right.
Seattle to get a win at the end of the year.
Yeah, good for them. Always nice to do that. Hurts your draft stock though, but goes both ways. Let's talk, you mentioned the Titans. Titans, listen. Apparently the Texans are have their number a little bit. I mean, who can really stop Davis Mills, the elite quarterback that he is? And hey, we saw David Johnson sighting in this one as well. But Tennessee was able to hold on. Got, just an incredible job by Tennessee this season to be able to sort of weather the storm. You talk about losing Derrick Henry, who now should be back for the playoffs. They have the 1 seed. Things are looking very good for Tennessee. Maybe as optimistic as they've been since Steve McNair was their quarterback.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought they did a good job in this game, especially offensively. Tannehill was really good in this game. Um, it is the Texans defense, but I thought it was his best, just numbers game, obviously,
He
is his
had
best
that
game.
one play where he was just down, and like I compare it to the Deshaun Watson play in the playoff game against the Bills, where he was sacked and then wasn't, and then threw it out. I mean, he had that play, which was just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, he was really good in this game. I thought the receivers did really well in this game. Julio Jones had a sighting. That was exciting.
Hmm.
Um, the Texans made this interesting, though, at the end, kind of crazily.
Yeah.
Uh, Davis Mills just throwing some dimes. I mean, listen, some of the guys were wide open. I didn't understand how, like, basic wheel route concepts all of a sudden were wide open on this defense. But,
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, I mean, Danny Amendola must have thought week 18 was still playoff Danny Amendola time. He comes alive just out of the woodwork and has a huge game in this one. Uh, it was a fun game, even though like it seemed like the Titans. Like I still felt good about the Titans winning the game. The Texans just made it interesting to me.
Yeah, which is yeah, good for the Texans. How do we feel about the Texans? I mean, which is it's good, kind of crazy, but like good job for Titans. We give them their due. For the Texans, are we really going to say like do we give David Coley another year or no?
Yeah, yeah. I think
Hmm.
listen, winning 4 games was above expectations for this team.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think he definitely deserves at least one more year. I think, as crazy as it is, I think David Mills deserves a year as a starter, full year. Um,
I kind of think. I don't think it's a horrible decision to clean house. I get it that you want to sort of say like, no, we got to give these guys an opportunity. We got to give these guys a chance. But I think unless you really feel good, like it's almost like you hired these guys for specific roles here. Like you hired David Coley because he could deal with you being in a shitty situation for a year. Like Davis Mills was maybe you give Davis Mills a shot, but like I guess my point is, don't Carolina Panthers this. You know what I mean? Don't like say like, oh, well, Sam Darnold has potential. Like, go for what you can. Go. Try, don't settle for potential. If you can see something great, get something great.
Well, here's the thing. I think like Carolina had expectations this season. It seemed
Mm-hmm.
like internally and in their fan base.
Sure.
Like I'm not picking the Texans to win more than 6 games, maybe max next year.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I mean, I think in that situation, like if you don't think that he can quarterback a team that's probably rebuilding, then why
Mm-hmm.
draft him? So I would give him a year to start, see what you
Yeah.
got basically at that point. Because I mean, unless you're blown away by Kenny Pickett, I would say, hey, we got a guy who's looked pretty good in our house. Let's see what he can do for a full season. I don't have a ton of expectations for next year. Let's see if we can build on this.
Yeah, I guess that's my thing. I think for like the head coaching thing, like listen, I'm not saying don't keep David Coley. I'm saying pick up the phone and see who's available. And same thing with quarterbacks. Look, still do your scouting report on the quarterbacks and see who you like. You don't feel like you owe it to these guys to give them another year. If you feel like you can get an improved, like Jacksonville moving on from Minshew, maybe people didn't love that, but actually Jacksonville keeping Minshew is kind of a great example. Like they say, oh, we're going to try Minshew this season, and then it blows up in your face, and you don't do well. Like it seems like more often than not, when you try this, taking a flyer on a guy doesn't work out as well as you maybe had hoped. But maybe I'm just lower on Davis Mills than other people are.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think they have an interesting offseason ahead of us. They
Yeah.
ahead of them because they finally have picks. So that's something they got to look forward to.
Right. There you go. Yeah. Good stuff for the I mean, again, who would have thought we'd be this optimistic for the Texans head after this? Remember how miserable it seemed like for the Texans were heading into this season? They win as many games this year as they did with Deshaun Watson last year.
There was people legitimately predicting 0 wins preseason.
Yeah.
Like, not even saying it sarcastically. There are people saying that they're not going to win a single football game.
Hmm.
So I think 4 wins is a success. Is a success.
Yeah. And again, keep slandering Mills. He is decent. That was a super chat by Luis. I mean, that's kind of my point, though. It's like, where are we going with Davis Mills? But I don't know why I'm attacking Davis Mills. Whatever. He had a good season. Someone should at least keep him as a plan B, if not a plan A. Let's move on before the Mills maniacs get after me anymore, Kyle. Where should we go here? You know what? This game had no playoff implications. I want to talk about this right now. The balls with the Giants here, just an incredible display of offensive ineptitude from the Giants, like I've never seen before. This game was this Giants offense is the worst like unit of a football team I've ever seen.
If we did if there was promotion relegation and there was like a relegation playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
would you pick the Giants to lose the relegation playoffs?
Yeah, yeah. At this point, yes. With no Daniel Jones, they're the worst team ever.
Yeah, I mean this is pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jake Fromm, 15 of 31 passes for 3.3 yards per attempt.
It's just incredible. I mean, and we have to also talk about like the headliner of this game, Joe Judge electing to on a 2nd down and 11 at his own 4-yard line, running a quarterback sneak on back-to-back plays and then punting the football away. I mean, that's just the ultimate like calling it concern. Like, why not quick kick there? Like, what are we doing here, Giants?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I understand that obviously it looks cowardly, but I've also seen Jake Fromm throw a football, so I don't want him doing that near my own end zone. I get it. I think the big thing is I mean, Gettleman, I think it's been widely reported that he's basically gone anyways, but you used a first round pick on Kadarius Toney, who I still saw a lot of flashes of this season.
Mm-hmm.
First round pick on Kadarius Toney and spent a large chunk of chain on Kenny Galladay to combine for 0 touchdowns.
Right.
Uh, you can't do that. that's not going to help your team move forward. Kenny
Sure.
Galladay has to be the worst signing of the summer, right?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, he has been banged up, and also like I think about a lot of times when these guys finally got healthy, they were that was after Daniel Jones already went out. So and you have bad offensive line doesn't allow them to get open as well. So uh, probably it's probably the worst signing, but it's also one that I liked when it happened, and I obviously like the Kadarius Toney draft pick. So I feel like I'd be kind of hypocritical to, in hindsight, say like what dumb decision. I think a big part of it is the Giants. I don't know what we're doing with this Joe Judge stuff. I don't know why we're giving him another year. And
Hmm.
B, you know, like Daniel Jones might not be a superstar. He's a solid quarterback. He's a fine quarterback, and he's certainly a lot better than Jake Fromm. So Jake Fromm also minus 13.6 total EPA in this one. I mean, this is just and this actually feels pretty optimistic compared to what we've seen past weeks with the Giants.
Well, here's the problem. It's like I don't know if Daniel Jones is a future quarterback in the NFL starter at least,
Sure.
but his backups, we talk about the importance of having backup quarterback options. His
Hmm.
backups might be bottom, like, they might be ranking, like if you ranked every quarterback available for NFL teams, like you probably get to the 60s before you name Jake Fromm, right?
Sure, certainly. But like at the same time, like I wouldn't consider Mike Glennon like a bottom tier backup quarterback heading into the season. Like like all of a sudden he came in and like looked like he forgot how to play football.
Yeah. It's tough stretch, that's for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is this is going to get Daniel Jones another season, basically.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
'Cause
100%.
I mean, just the ineptitude behind him, basically. I don't know if that's the right pick, but I think he's going to get another chance unless, like I said, Russell Wilson says, "I want to go to New York," which
Hmm.
I don't know why he'd look at this team and said, "That's where I want to be."
Sure. Yeah, that I guess it really unless it's literally just wanting to play in New York, but they don't even play in New York. They play in New Jersey. So I don't know. Do you have anything you want to say about Washington? Because good for Ron Rivera. You got the win. Also good. Weird. Did you hear? I didn't notice, but going into the game, I guess like Joe Judge like took a shot at the Washington because he said like we don't have guys throwing punches on our sidelines. Which is like Joe Judge, you are not in position to be talking smack about anybody just in anything really.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well have people punching each other on the sideline watching this offense. Like,
It's almost a negative at that point. It's like, oh, guys deserve to be getting punched the way this offense is playing.
yeah, you should hire someone to punch players to get them to wake up on offense. Honestly, like, yeah,
Urban Meyer would be great for them.
yeah, start kicking guys. Uh, yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't have anything to say about Washington.
Hmm. That's
Get
fine.
a quarterback. Get a quarterback. We'll
Yeah.
see how you do next year, but that's your first job. Get healthy too on defense, and maybe add a couple guys in the secondary.
Yeah. And also, super chat. We have a Duval in the super chat. Yes, Duval indeed. Team Chaos, the Jacksonville Jaguars were. Let's move on from that one. Let's get into, I guess, let's go to your team, Kyle. 'Cause I'm trying to think of like what else really, should we get into? Uh, Kyle, your team got swept by the Miami Mammals. How are we feeling?
This game was just so annoying.
Uh
Like,
huh.
and I'm gonna have to listen to this all off season too, because it's like the f- freaking first drive. It's like we can't get anything stopped. I think Tua started 8 for 8 in this game. The first drive, they go right down the field to get an easy touchdown. Doesn't look like anybody can cover. Mac Jones makes a wrong read, throws an interception right to Xavier Howard, runs it back for a touchdown. All of a sudden, it's 14-0, and it's just like when I just I watch some of these games, and it's like, when did the Patriots become dumb? Like,
Mm
this is a team constantly praised for, you know, being the smartest team, being taking advantage of everything in the NFL rule book, anything like that, being the smartest team in football, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, interceptions to start the game on the first drive. And you got penalties deep in your own territory. You're running a hard count when your quarterback commits a false start because he bobbed his head. You drop 2 interceptions in this game. You have an illegal formation where someone's lined up over the punter that gives them a free first down too. So it's just like, when did the Patriots become dumb? They've been playing to their opponents basically this entire season, and this is another game where it kind of bit them in the butt. Uh, the end, it didn't really change much. They moved down to the 6th seed and played Buffalo, which I guess is kind of significant. But at the same time, like, I don't know, they just played poorly. They played badly, and that's why they lost this game. I thought they had some moments where they moved the ball pretty well. Thought they had some moments where they defended pretty well, but you can't be dumb and win football games. It's that simple.
Yeah, and again, playing Buffalo versus playing Cincinnati, it's like kind of dealer's choice there. So not the end of the world, certainly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This Patriots team, I was so high on them during the middle of the season, Kyle. I got, you're a self-proclaimed Patriots homer, and I was like on par with you in terms of how much I like this Patriots team. If you look at these past, I mean, granted, they did beat a team 50-10 just last week, so maybe it's not that, but losing to the Dolphins here isn't great. Losing to the Bills, that was 2 weeks ago, wasn't great. Losing to the Colts the week prior, and even the week before that was kind of that weird game against the Bills. Now, granted, we want to go back one more week, they blew out the Titans, but really since then they have kind of sputtered into, again, another team that's kind of limped into the postseason here.
Yeah, and the thing is I exchanged text with my dad during games, and it's just like I texted him
Mhm.
even in this game. I'm like, they're gonna go down the field and score to cut this 27-24, and then give up a couple first downs and get no chance at a comeback. And that's what they've
Mhm.
done basically all season. Is like I said, they play to their opponents, and it comes back and hurts them in all of these games. It's like the Saints game. Saints game, they are down 21-13. They gave up 5 straight first downs basically to that Saints offense, and the Saints ended up scoring, making it 28-13. The Colts game, they cut it they came all the way back to go down, what, 20-17. Jonathan Taylor breaks off a big run, ices the game with a touchdown. The Bills game,
Mhm.
they cut to 26-21. They gave up a bunch of first downs. Bills basically run out the clock and score a touchdown to make it 33-21. And in this game, the Dolphins got 2 first downs that basically iced the game, and then there was the fumble play at the end. Um, yeah, I mean, they just constantly make mistakes like that. They can't get stops at the end of games. I still feel like this is a good team, but at the same time, like, if you're going to constantly play with fire like this team does on occasion, it's going to burn you. It's going to burn you, and I think this team has to learn how to show up at the start of games and play a full 60 minutes.
Yeah, and it's interesting with this Patriots team too, because you think about, like, they started off 2-4. They just had that red hot middle of the season. Now they've finished 2-3 to end the season. Part of it might just be too. I mean, I guess here's the thought: is couldn't you kind of just argue like this is like a rebuilding season? That's a massive step in the right direction for New England. I mean, if you told me this preseason that the Patriots were going to end up making the postseason and win as many games as they would and look as solid as they've looked this season, if you look at the entire body of work, is that the case, or is it because they had that such because they were so hot in the middle of this season that it's now kind of feels like a disappointment?
Um, I'd say it probably feels like the latter.
Hmm.
Obviously, they overperformed expectations, so that's the big thing. But um, I think you could say they exceeded expectations for the season, but you're disappointed with the results at the end of the year. Because
Sure.
obviously the expectations have risen. We've seen the ceiling of this team being able to beat anyone in the AFC, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to in the playoffs. We'll see what happens, but I think it's going to be tough sledding for this team come the postseason time. Because I don't know. It was just so frustrating to watch this game. It's another game where I felt like we were better than the Dolphins. Once again,
Mhm.
per play basis, yards per play, 6.4 to 4.5. I felt like at times we were better than the Dolphins, but the difference is the Dolphins, didn't have penalties against them that were, backbreaking penalties. They didn't have, when Tua threw 2 passes basically into the laps of our defenders, we dropped
Mhm.
them. They caught the interception, ran it back for a touchdown, and then we had another drive that we got down to the 20-yard line and dropped the snap. The snap was fumbled, and then Jalen Phillips recovered it. So Dolphins took advantage of plays and then won this game because I thought the Patriots were again a better team against this game against this team.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Patriots will play the Bills to go to Buffalo. Last time these two teams played in New England, which is kind of the real only game we can really take that much into account because the first game was so weird with the weather. Only went 1 for 10 on third down. Still had a really good chance to win that game. It was anyone's game at that point. So I think that I'm not writing. Listen, kind of the two guys in football you can never count out: Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Right? Anything can still happen.
Yeah, yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't think it's impossible for us to beat Buffalo. I think it's going to be really hard to beat Josh Allen.
Mhm.
But I think from what I've seen Buffalo this year, I don't think this is a very good Buffalo team. I think Josh Allen's a terrific quarterback, and I think that's the big thing. I think we're perfectly capable of beating Buffalo uh, in a vacuum. It's just we got to stop, their guy.
Yeah, it might depend on which Josh Allen you get as well. That could play a role. Let's move on. Let's go from your team to mine. Why don't we? Let's go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have posted. Kyle, I have a fun stat for you. Fun stat of the day. Tom Brady with has passed the 80 touchdown mark, putting him in second all time in Tampa Bay passing touchdown leaders.
Well, who's number one?
It's Jameis Winston, currently
Oh,
sitting at
okay.
121. Brady is, if you count, include playoffs, Brady's about like 28 behind. So next year, if he plays a full season, he's undoubtedly, if you count playoffs, going to be the all-time Buccaneers passing touchdown leader. Maybe even without counting playoffs, he could get there. I don't know if that says more about Brady or about the Bucks, but it's something.
Yeah, incredible stuff. He was good in this
Mhm.
game, obviously. So I heard you change. It seemed like you were changing your tune a little bit.
Yeah.
You're not a Rogers MVP guy.
No, because I think that the more I look into this data, so here's how this past week I kind of really sat down and said, okay, where does data tell me who do I believe has been the best quarterback? And I feel like Rodgers has had the best results when he's thrown the football, but there has been an element of luck and an element of the team that he's playing on, which is more beneficial to him. I think that you look at efficiency numbers, and Joe Burrow has the best, what I would consider like on a per snap basis, like statistics, things I really value, right? And for someone like Brady, I think he has the bulk stuff. He's thrown the ball more. He's a bigger part of the offense, so therefore he's added more overall value. I think that what Rodgers has going for him is he's had really good turnover luck. I think that's the best thing that Rodgers has. Also, the bad games he had were early on in the season. I maintain Aaron Rodgers has clearly been the best quarterback like the second half of the season. But I think that if you look at the entire body of work over the 18-game schedule, I'd say Burrow's been the best quarterback and Brady has been the most valuable quarterback.
Interesting. Yeah, it does seem like it's kind of down to those three. Seeing how no one besides me is going to call for Cooper Cup, but it's whatever. Um,
Are you calling for Cooper Cup now?
no, I think Cooper Cup deserves. I think Cooper Cup's above and beyond the Offensive Player of the Year.
Sure.
Like I think the Jonathan Taylor talk over Cooper Cup's ridiculous, personally.
Well, so here's where I let me explain my reasoning a little bit more by using some numbers. So you look at some stats that I kind of branded as when I made a video about this, what I call okay stats that I like but don't necessarily love, like passer rating, offensive points per drive, yards per attempt, and EPA per play. Like those are stats that overwhelmingly favor Rodgers, but those are also stats that they take team into account. And it's really just when you throw the football, what is the outcome kind of stats. It's similar to like, I don't know, maybe like RBIs in baseball, where like it's a good stat to look at. Like if you have a lot of RBIs, you're probably good, but there's a lot of variance that goes into that as well. Whereas you look at something like adjusted completion percentage, if you adjust for how far you're throwing down the field, Pro Football Focus grade, turnover worthy play percentage, or big time throw percentage, the only thing Rodgers leads there is big time throw percentage and the adjusted completion percentage and PFF grades. Burrow is number one. And so that's why I kind of lean towards Burrow there. And then you look at kind of like the cumulative stats, the stuff that you add together. Brady leads in almost all of those, including total EPA or total EPA added, which is a stat that factors in, when Brady throws it to Mike Evans drops it and it's intercepted. That still goes against Brady, but he still leads there. Brady leads in WAR. He's second out of those three in big turnover worthy plays, but also number one in big time throws. So that's kind of why I say that.
How does your formula take into account David Carr saying that Derek Carr is the most valuable player ever? Ever
I
is
don't
that
believe there's a brother section on there. No.
there's no brother section? Okay.
Hmm.
You know, maybe not the most valuable player ever, but yeah, honestly, I mean, I don't think I wouldn't hate the Brady pick. I think the
Hmm.
the Burrow one, I think I'd probably push back a little bit on, even though he's had an incredible last 4 or 5 games of the year. Um,
Okay.
I'd probably, if I were to rank these three, I'd probably say Rodgers, Brady, Burrow,
In terms of
MVP.
how good they've been, or in terms of how much value they've had, because those are two different questions, right? I mean, we see this happen in baseball a bit with like Cy Young awards, where someone maybe has thrown more innings but hasn't had as good of an ERA. Like, so would you say value or just how good you've been?
I think it's just how good you've been, honestly. That's probably where I'd put it because we have this debate on is it value or is it how good you've been? But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, like, you brought up baseball, and I think it's the perfect point. If it's
Hmm.
value, then Mike Trout wouldn't win MVP all the time because he doesn't
Wait,
make playoffs.
well, no, you can be the most valuable player and still not make the playoffs.
I mean, I disagree with that, but at the
How
same
do you
time,
disagree with that? Well, that's
baseball
factually true. So
baseball is
you're
a
telling me that
different
anyone
sport.
who makes you're telling me anyone that makes the playoffs is more valuable than anyone that doesn't make the playoffs?
Yes.
What? That's the so the Buccaneers punter is more valuable than Kirk Cousins.
No, not that's taken a bit too far. But at the same time, like I think if we're gonna have an MVP, we're going off on a long tangent here with
Sure,
baseball
that's
stuff. But
fine.
at the same time, if we're gonna talk about MVP, I'd rather have the very, very, very good, spectacular player whose team is in the playoffs rather than the very, very good, spectacular player whose team is not in the playoffs. Even if the guy who's not in the playoff might have slightly better numbers.
Well, okay. I don't agree with that, but whatever. So here's what Apex Affairs says MVP is for most outstanding season. It's not about value. The award is most valuable player. That's in the term. That's literally what the definition of the award is. And it doesn't specifically say that. So I guess my confusion is if we're going to acknowledge that Tom Brady has added more value this year than Aaron Rodgers has, then why is Jonathan Taylor out of the running? Then why is Cooper Kupp out of the running? Either those guys are in the running or it should be Brady. I have a heart. I don't get why we can sit here and say, well, Rodgers has been the better player, so even though he hasn't had as much value, he's still the MVP. But then in the same breath say, well, Jonathan Taylor's a running back, so we can't win MVP.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that the history of voting tells us it's a quarterback that's going to win this award.
Because the quarterbacks have the most, and why is it that a quarterback's going to
Because it
win the
has the
award?
most value. Quarterback is
Yes,
the most important position to a football team.
right.
But wouldn't you say that Aaron Rodgers' ability to virtually never make a mistake and also have these big plays that are maybe not at the same level as these other guys, but pretty close still, being able to make these huge plays for his team and also virtually never make a mistake because he, basically doesn't, you
Rogers
know,
is Rogers' turnover worthy play percentage is lower than Brady's, or it's higher than Brady's. I mean,
Yeah,
as
but at
in
the
worse
same
than
time, we
Brady's,
talk about this, but this is a guy who leads the touchdown to interception ratio. He has the sixth highest touchdown to interception ratios in NFL history.
because he's been lucky. Yeah, there's been an element, not only because he's been lucky, but there's been an element of luck that's happened to that.
Yeah, but I mean, he continually just keeps doing it, though. I mean, you have to give him credit for that.
Rodgers is amazing. Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I'm not giving him credit for that. I'm just saying that that's not. I'm not going to give him the MVP because there's Brady threw a hail mary on a threw a hail mary that got intercepted.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be close. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I personally would just probably pick Rodgers at this point, but I understand arguments for Brady too.
Okay, I guess we can agree to disagree. And again,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Rodgers hasn't been. Rodgers is worthy of an MVP award this season, right? I think that I don't agree that this has been a down year for quarterbacks. Early on, you could say that. I think all three have been incredible, but that's just sort of. I like to view this the other way. I don't like to view this as who do I like more. I like to view this as okay, come up with an explanation for what it should be, and then find that up. I think we can both agree though. That you shouldn't vote on MVP just because of who is or isn't the biggest jerk in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's just favor on-field performance.
Yeah,
Um,
well, this is a
the
good point. Edward brings up Brady couldn't beat the Saints. Rodgers did really well against the Saints.
yeah,
Mm,
obviously.
Uh,
The interesting thing is, so I think the problem with I can't even remember the guy's name who said that the whole off the field stuff plays into it and all that.
mhm.
But doesn't it feel like it's going to taint the award if Rogers doesn't win it at this point because he
No.
publicly said it?
Oh yeah, I mean that really helps Rodgers. I get what you're saying. Like yeah, you are right. Also, just to clear up, how can you say he's only thrown less interceptions because he's been lucky when he's played almost 20 seasons? I'm not saying he's not great at not turning the ball over. I'm saying this season he's been luckier than Brady has, or Brady's been unluckier than Rodgers has. Whatever you want to say it. That's my only point.
So, yeah, I mean, it creates an interesting point. Like, I feel like Rodgers now has to win it because that guy said something. So, like,
Yeah.
if he
hmm
doesn't, then it becomes a problem that he lost it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like who cares? Like the MVP award's not, the point of football, but it's an interesting debate. I just wish there was like easier. Like, let's make it easily explainable as to what we are voting on, because I feel like 10 different people might just be voting on like 10 different players, but all have like just different reasons for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
hmm
I mean that's been a problem with basically every award in every sport ever.
hmm
Like you can go through the Hart Trophy, you can go to the Heisman, you can go baseball MVP, NFL MVP, NBA MVP. It's all
hmm
it. There's no clear criteria to it.
Yeah. Although again, one last thing I'll say before we get off this, like Brady's like PFF WAR heading into this week was 4.7. Rogers is 3.0. Like to me, that seems like a huge jump there. So we're not talking like decimal points in terms of the value. Like Brady's, if and again, the way I view it is, let's take a replacement level quarterback. I don't know, Kyle Allen, right? Replacement level quarterback. If he took all of Rogers' snaps and all of Brady's snaps, who scores the least amount of points because of that? And I think the Packers score less points, or as in the Buccaneers score less points. You know what I mean? The Buccaneers drop off more than the Packers do points wise. That's my main point.
Interesting.
hmm
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I understand the argument. It'd be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how it's voted.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
so
And Rogers is incredible. You know what? You could go either way. Let's move on. I think good discussion there, Kyle. Good
yeah,
back and forth. We don't argue as much anymore. It's nice to have a good old fashioned.
you know who's not going to win MVP? Sam Darnold. That's who. He's not going to win MVP. He wasn't very good in this
mm,
game. Is he going to start next year?
I can't. Tony Romo said. I already got rid of the banner, but whatever. We'll go with it. Tony Romo said. It's like someone got Sam Darnold was running off the field. Like I think he might have a future in the NFL still. It's like what? How are we still doing this with Sam Darnold? 4 years into his career, that he's still like getting some potential. Like if a team goes into next season with the idea that Sam Darnold's going to be the starter, that's just like a horrendous mistake.
Yeah, you're going to be picked fourth in my division breakdown. Although I do have to say, Broncos and Panthers controversially did not take quarterbacks in the draft last year.
hmm
Back in the top 10.
Yeah, that is the flip side as well. It's hard for me to not argue with the comments still, but I'm gonna move on from the MVP stuff. Let's move on from this football game. Let's go to again. We're staying up late here on the East Coast, but part of it is because the game went long, pushed us back. Let's go to trying to figure out. I guess we can talk. I want to go Packers Lions here, just because it's here the. I guess I don't know. Any takeaways from this one?
I mean, it was crazy that we were watching this side by side with the Jaguars, and
hmm
it was like this game was really close, and it was actually, if this was any other week, this would be a really exciting game. Obviously, with Packers full strength and playing everybody, it'd be a different story. But we're watching this Jaguars thing play out, and the Jaguars are way ahead of the Colts, and the Lions are fighting for everything against this Packers team, and basically just throwing away the number one pick in the NFL draft,
Right.
which is really funny to see side by side. I don't think they're going to be targeting the same guy, so I don't think it's that big of a deal that they're number two instead of number one, because you got to
hmm
think Lions might go quarterback. I mean, we'll see. I think Lions could draft a lot of different players. Regardless, pretty nice win for the Lions. I'll give them credit for that. They look good in this game. They move the ball pretty well. I think the big takeaway I had from this is that I think Jared Goff is going to find himself starting for a team next year, whether it's this Detroit team or whether it's somebody else. Jared Goff is going to start for a full season next year, no doubt.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I mean, listen, like where would you rank Jared Goff in terms of quarterback? To me, I feel like he is like the definition of like a tier 4 quarterback, right? Like he maybe you can even argue tier 3, but like he's not a bad quarterback. He belongs in the NFL.
Like I think we did this, a while ago, and it's obviously changed since then.
Mhm.
But I was just thinking about our rankings because we had our cutoff basically where I think it was like Baker Mayfield based on last year's performance was like 16.
Mhm.
And then from there it was like you got to like the Carson Wentz's, and then eventually you trickle down to the rookies. So even if
Mhm.
you figured like Mac Jones probably moves up in that group, and you could probably bump a couple other guys forward or backwards depending on their performances,
Mhm.
you probably think he's somewhere in what, the 18 to 24 range? Like I think
Mhm.
that's still good enough.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the question though is what is your ceiling with a Jared Goff as your starting quarterback? Like what are you do like how can you win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff at quarterback?
Well, they got to one with him. So I guess the thing is that once
True.
again, I think that there's certain quarterbacks that you look at and say, okay, this is almost the Kirk Cousins mold too that we've talked about. It's like if I
Mhm.
have a good offensive line, good wide receivers, and a pretty good running back, or a decent running back at least next to them, I think I could do some good things. I, I gotta imagine Jared Goff's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say is when they got to that Super Bowl, he was on the rookie contract. Now he's,
Yes.
getting paid a lot more than that. So if you're going to if you're going to get him, if you're going to have success of him, probably not going to do it paying him 26 million a year. His cap hit for next year is 31 million. So that might be a little tough.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it'll definitely be interesting to see. Um, I think this is a team though that, this is not going to be a good team next year still, I think. It's still got a
Right.
few years to go.
Hmm.
But I mean, a healthy Swift, a healthy Hawkinson, continue to maybe add another wide receiver next to Amon-Ra St. Brown. This could be a decent offense next year. I think this team might be able to move the ball next year. They got a long way to go on defense, though, man. Like they need a lot of players on
Yeah.
that side. But I think at least you can say, hey, maybe if we add another wide receiver here, we kind of have a pretty decent offense to build towards.
Yeah. What do you think about the Packers' decision to play their starters for a half?
I'm okay with it. This
Hmm.
is kind of what we talked about, because as you said, you've pointed this out, the data on resting and then having the extra week of rest has not bode well for teams in the past. So maybe the best move is, hey, play them a little bit, make sure they don't get hurt though, take them out early. The result doesn't matter. You're still getting that rest, but they're still getting a little bit of reps.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's move on. Let's see. So we got 6 games left. We'll try to power through these because not a ton of intrigue. Chiefs Broncos probably the most interesting one on the Saturday game. The Broncos made it interesting. There was that fumble at the end, which was like such a Broncos thing to happen. I think this year, this is the last game Vic Fangio would coach as head coach for Denver. So uh, interesting game. Chiefs now with the 2 seed. Any thoughts on this one?
Uh, I mean, look, it Fangio. I'm not going to argue that he deserved to keep his job. He definitely deserved to get fired after this because I mean, you gotta, it's a results oriented league. Even if you're doing good things as a coach, you're going to get fired if you're not making the playoffs, especially after this kind of time. Um, so I think obviously the head coaching search begins for Denver, but it starts with the guy under center. That's the first job, right? Whoever's in charge has to figure that out.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of football as a whole, right? It all ends up coming down to the quarterback.
I think so. And,
Hmm.
they're going to have options, whether it's, they try and see if like this Rogers thing pans out after last off season, if somebody else becomes available, there's still Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis. You can try one of those guys.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Broncos. Obviously, I think they got to rebuild that, add a few pieces, and then get the right head coach.
Might be able to trade for Sam Darnold too.
Sam Darnold might be available. That's true.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. Who do you like as a coach for the Broncos? Do you,
Ooh,
do you,
interesting. Well, I think it's tough, right? Because like the one thing that is weird about the Broncos is their defense is kind of built to be a specific style of defense now. So like I feel like I think like Todd Bowles would be a great head coach, but like I don't know if I'd want that with their defense, where it's kind of like a zone built defense. They want Todd Bowles to come in like with a completely different scheme. I don't know about that. So that's interesting. I'd probably have to think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe like a
Obviously,
Dennis Allen.
that would be interesting.
Hmm.
Um,
But
although
maybe
they kind
they
of
might
just
go
went
off.
old. Yeah, I was gonna say they
Yeah.
just kind of went old defensive coordinator. Do they want to do that again?
Hmm.
Um, but we'll see.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Yeah, maybe I'll make a video. Maybe I'll make a video at some point breaking down who the coaches for
McDaniel's
the.
might be a nice coach.
There
Might
you
fit
go.
well in Denver.
Yeah, I think that could work for sure. So, well, hey, I guess it went better than Indy, but that's not saying much. 5 games left. Let's go Saints Falcons. Saints won the game they had to win, even with their what. Does it count as what string does Trevor Simeon count as? Because he was originally the backup, then got benched for Taysom Hill, but then Hill gets injured, so now he comes back in. They were able to beat Atlanta. Wasn't enough. Alvin Kamara had a big day. Wasn't enough for this New Orleans Saints team to make the postseason. But they're another team that deserves a lot of credit for the way that they continued to battle despite all the adversity they had this season, losing their starting quarterback midway through the year, plenty of injuries, still winning season here. Very good season for the Saints, even if it didn't result in a playoff berth.
Yeah, I thought it was a good year, and weirdly, this offense started to perform the last week of the year after really struggling the last couple weeks. Um, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the Saints do next year. They're kind of in the same boat where I don't think they have a ton of cap maneuvering to do. I don't know the exact numbers, but I don't think it's as drastic as it was this offseason with shedding salary. But I do think there is something that they have to maneuver, if I'm not mistaken. I guess the question with this team is once again similar to the Broncos almost, except for that Sean Payton's not going anywhere. Is
Mhm.
you know, is it bring back Jameis Winston? Is it search for somebody else? What's the move there?
Yeah, I mean, I've always maintained when it comes to quarterback, find the best, do whatever you can to find the best quarterback available. Like, no price is too high for a quarterback upgrade. Do what you can to get one. I mean, you do think about, like, well, here's a thought I just thought of right now. I don't know how the cap situation work. Like, what if like Aaron Rodgers went to the Saints? Like, how incredible would that be? Get Brady versus Rodgers 2 times a year. Like, let's let that happen.
That'd be fun. They
Hmm.
need to get a receiver if they're going to do that. Convincing.
Probably maybe
Um,
him and Devontae Adams. The cap is a myth, anyways. Who cares?
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So, it'll be interesting to see how this team continues to retool this. Retool. It. I mean, I don't know. This is another team that I felt like still kind of over exceeded expectations. I remember doing the preview show. I think I barely had them in the playoffs, but it was on the fringe, and I think you had them lower than I did. Um,
I think I
I
was
mean,
right around. I think I remember if I had him at the 8th seed in the NFC. So I think I was
yeah,
right on where they ended up being.
yeah. So I mean, I thought
Hmm.
they did pretty well given the circumstances, and obviously with the injuries, it was always going to be a tough battle.
Yeah, I think I agree. Let's move on. Let's
No
go. I
Falcons
guess
takes.
no. I think we could plow ahead through some of these. Let's go to Jets Bills. Perhaps this was the last. Unfortunately, we will get to see of Zach Wilson until next year. Not the best Zach Wilson performance. Not a lot he could have done. 7 for 20 for 87 yards. Didn't throw the ball too many times as either. Was their leading rusher in this one with 24 rushing yards. Um, you know, the Bills, they kind of sputtered for a lot of it. Did kind of finally find their groove in the fourth quarter. Any thoughts on this one?
Um, Zach Wilson had net 5 passing yards if you include sack yards. That's not
Okay, there
great.
you go. Right, not
But
ideal.
yeah, no, not good at all. But
Hmm.
you know, I still think there's some promise to this Jets team. He had the big play
Hmm.
to Keelan Cole, which is cool too. Kind of made this game a little interesting. I don't know. Buffalo, I mean, I mentioned this. They kind of, still wildly look unimpressive at times, but at the same time, when you have Josh Allen, it's hard to doubt this team. He wasn't even great in this game, but he was still the best player. Did exactly what he had to do.
Yeah. I think this is good in the chat. Can we get a final Jets quarterback rankings, Kyle? We did have Jamison Crowder with the weird stat line of 0 for 0 for 0 yards. What did you think of have the final rankings for the Jets here, quarterbacks here?
Yeah, so Crowder is gonna fall down to 4. He's taken in for Josh Johnson's spot. We're gonna
Hmm.
move on to Mike White. Mike White's gonna earn himself a backup payday this offseason, whether it's with the Jets or with somebody else. Number 2, we are going with the great, the immortal, the pass interference king. That is Joe Flacco. And then,
Hmm.
of course, with the promise at the end of the season, not a great week 18, but a nice 16 and 17, Zach Wilson is going to end up taking the number 1 spot of the Jets QB
Incredible.
rankings.
Wow. Very, I'm sure Zach Wilson's family probably very pumped up as they watch this live here at 1:40 on the East Coast.
I'm sure they are very I'm sure they are very excited. Uh
Hmm.
yeah, I mean uh, long road ahead for the Jets, I think still.
Yeah. Hey, defense looks promising in this one. Something to grow on, perhaps. 3 games left. Let's go to Cowboys Eagles. The Eagles ended up not playing Jalen Hurts here, which they had the playoff spot locked up in this one. Cowboys put up a 50 burger in this one. Again, I don't have a ton to add here, Kyle. Any thoughts on this one?
Dallas dominated. Philly, credit to them for making the playoffs. That's the big thing. Didn't seem like they were too engaged in this game, but they had a good year. 9-8's a successful season for the Eagles, definitely.
Not over yet. I think they. How do you feel about them playing Tampa Bay? A
Not
little
great.
preview for not great. Yeah, I think that's however, these teams played the first time and Tampa Bay got off to a hot start, but Philadelphia did end up coming back. Only lost by 6 in that one. That was we talked about that as like an all-time bad backdoor cover. But hey, we'll see. Maybe there was something. Kind of remember when the Buccaneers played the Chiefs and they got down, but then found a way to come back, and there was actually some schematic reasons for that. I'll dive into the film and see if there was a schematic reason for that game. So maybe that there's something intriguing.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to come down to how does this team run the ball? They did end up with 5 yards per carry in the last game, but it wasn't as effective as they need to be. Uh, I mean, Jalen Hurts has to play, out of his mind, I feel like.
Yeah. So 4 teams left. I guess we'll go just get power through these ones because there's not a ton to talk about, but we'll just give our final touches on this. Bengals Browns. Browns get a win. Makes you wonder how many wins they would have had Case Keenum been the starter for the entire season. But then again, not Case Keenum was incredible either. Just a disappointing season for Cleveland.
Yeah, definitely disappointing. That being said, like if you ask me, to pick a team who I think makes the playoffs next year that miss it, Minnesota and Cleveland are probably my top 2 picks, right? They're another team that has questions at quarterback, and
Hmm.
it's going to be interesting to see how that's addressed this offseason, especially given that, they got to make a lot of decisions about Baker Mayfield. Um,
Hmm.
so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think Cleveland's a talent wise is good enough to compete for potentially Super Bowls, but you don't have the most important position, locked in.
Yeah, and I would say they don't have the 2 most important positions locked in my opinion. Which the second is receiving core. Which Landry had a good game today. Landry has not looked as good as we have seen him look in the past, and the receiving core was a big disappointment this year. We thought it was going to be great with the Odell Beckham Jr. and everything, and it wasn't. So they got to figure some stuff out. But there still is at least groundwork to be laid for Cleveland. I guess here's a fun question. If you were to, we can ask this for both teams. Uh, if we're doing like a fantasy draft of you get an NFL franchise, you're the GM, you're going to be a GM of an NFL franchise. Where do you think the Browns around where would they end up on your list?
Like if I get to pick a team,
Yeah, you get to pick a team. It's like number one, like that's the team that you most want to be GM of, and then go down the list.
I'd say the Browns are probably in the top 10
Okay,
because I still
I,
think there's things they can
mhm.
do.
I might have them a little below. I might have them around like the 16 mark. Like, I think they're around average because like, they are pretty close. But we like to say all you need is the quarterback. That's kind of the most difficult thing you got to figure out, though.
Yeah. I guess
Hmm.
that's the challenge though, is can you get that quarterback? So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I think that's someone. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if like who's available. I mean, obviously we're speculating too much on this, but like
Hmm.
could a Stefanski see if like, hey, if Minnesota's tired of Kirk Cousins,
Right.
like
Or
that's an
even like
upgrade.
Matt Ryan, I could see being something.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, there's a few different options they can go with that, obviously the concern is we just discussed this with the Broncos and the Panthers.
Mhm.
You can't go 25 cents on the dollar for a quarterback, but those are two
Mhm.
guys who have had a lot of success in this league, and I think could make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So I would have the Browns probably in the top 10. I would probably have the Bengals. I mean, you got Burrow, so I guess that's the thing. You can kind of
Mhm.
retool around Burrow as you see fit. So that's
Uh-huh.
probably also in the same boat. They're probably in the top 10 for me too.
Oh, I think Bengals are number 1. If I could fire Zach Taylor, that would just be incredible.
Just he wins coach of the year. All right, you're fine. He's not going to win coach of the year, but be funny
Uh-huh.
if that happened.
Yeah, no, again, I'm
Pull a Dwayne Casey.
obviously being a little bit joking. I don't think Zach Taylor has his positives as well, but and his negatives. Final game, the Bears Vikings happened. Kyle, uh, I'm gonna over under on 1.5 plays of this game you saw. Everyone in the chat say, do you think it was the over or under? How many plays of this game did you end up watching?
Do you want me to answer now, or do you want me to wait for responses?
Let's wait for responses a bit. I think my guess. I'll talk it out a little. I think you saw the Patrick Peterson pick six. I don't know if you saw any. I'm speaking from experience. I did not exactly have a close eye on this one. Kind of the nice thing about Week 18 is you don't have to pay attention to every team the way you do the first 17 weeks. I'm going to guess under. Let's see if the chat's a lot of unders here. In fact, no overs. Kyle, was it over or under 1.5 plays of this game you saw?
I'm disappointed in all of you. I was over because I did see the
Oh.
Patrick Peterson pick six. Good
Mhm.
job, Owen. You win nothing, but you have my respect. So
Uh,
I did see the Patrick Peterson interception, as you said, and then the other play I saw was this Justin Jefferson touchdown, where Justin Jefferson is standing in the end zone like this, and
uh,
Eddie Jackson makes the football decision not to turn around and defend the pass. Justin Jefferson, or yeah, and Jefferson catches the touchdown. And
mhm.
one of the most bizarre coverages I've ever seen. So yeah, those are the two plays I saw.
Yeah, there you go. Couple of things that happen. I guess broader strokes here. Here's the question, Kyle. This time next year, is Kirk Cousins quarterback of the Minnesota, or not this time next year, but week 1 next year, is Kirk Cousins the starting quarterback for the Vikings?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think despite the sour ending of the year, I thought he had a
Hmm.
good year. Actually, I thought he had a great year at stretches. Um,
Hmm.
so I think he's going to be the quarterback next year. I think this team is going to maybe try and add a cornerback or two, maybe try and add an offensive lineman or two, and they're going to go with a new coaching staff and see how that does. And I think they're going to be pretty good next year. Honestly, I think that they can bounce back quickly. I think they got the pieces in place. I'm keeping Kirk Cousins for right now.
Yeah, I think so as well. And then for the Bears, again, no first round pick this year, but the whole thing is if Justin Fields works, then you've won. And there are, two teams that head coaches probably coached their last game as a head coach in the NFL, I would assume.
Yeah, I imagine Nagy's gone. This has been
Mhm.
a long time coming. It'd be funny if he kept his job after this. Said, "Hey,
Uh-huh.
that Andy Dalton stuff. Okay, you're gonna stick around." Um,
Right. Yeah, that
uh,
would be maybe not the best decision.
no. Yeah, I don't have anything to say on the Bears. I think I've done enough on the Bears the last 2 years. I think I'm
Mhm.
just not going to talk about the Bears at all next season. That's my decision.
Okay. I think we'd be all right. Like, what are the odds that the Bears make the playoffs next year? It would just have to be Justin Fields, like has like an MVP caliber season, right?
Yeah, so they're not going to make the playoffs next year. So we're
All right. There we go. Perfect way to end it. Kyle, that's it. No more of these long recaps. We still will have recaps, but not of, the next recap show we'll have will be just of 6 games.
Yeah, so I can't remember if we talked about it. I guess we'll talk about it on air. Are we
Mhm.
doing a Monday night recap because there's Monday night wildcard games?
Right. I think, yeah, let's do that. That makes more sense. I think we'll do it after the Cardinals. Or plus, like, we really want to do the recap after the Steelers Chiefs, which somehow got the Sunday night thing. Like, no, let's push it to the Monday night one.
Okay, that seems
Mhm.
like a good call. That's good because we can both bounce back from our horrible pick performances this week. Um,
What were
I
you
mean,
at?
I mean, we both missed our locks because you
I
locked
know
up Chiefs
that.
-10, right?
Yeah,
And the
I almost
Chargers,
had it
obviously,
too.
yeah.
That was tough.
Um, I mean, you had the Colts doubled up, And I think you had
Mhm.
somebody else doubled up, didn't you? That lost?
I'm looking through it now. I wasn't paying as much attention as perhaps I should have. I had the Patriots doubled up as well, so those 2 did
Yeah.
not go well for me.
Yeah, I lost the Rams game. I lost another one too.
Yeah, this is oh, you also had the Cardinals, winning to Seattle, but you didn't double that up, so, that was
That's
it ended
true.
up working
So
alright for you.
so maybe I still gained a few points despite a terrible week.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
you know,
so.
that's always my goal. Don't be worse than you. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
it's been a pretty easy goal to clear so far.
Yeah. So
Mm.
good stuff heading into the postseason.
Yeah, should be fun. I guess the one other question I'll ask you, I'll put you on the spot here as well. Do you want to do any live streams of watching our teams play in the postseason? The Patriots play Saturday night, and the Buccaneers play Sunday at 1.
Um, yeah, I can do Saturday night Patriots action. I was gonna go to the game until they you know, blew their chance and obviously don't get to play the Cincinnati Bengals. I canceled my trip to Cincinnati. I'm disappointed in that. Oh, are we gone?
Are we? I'm still here.
Oh
Can you
wait,
see
no,
me?
I'm good. Okay. My
Okay.
thing just froze for a second. But yeah, don't get to go to Cincinnati, unfortunately. Not traveling to Buffalo, that's too cold. So yeah, I can do Patriots Bills Saturday night.
Sure, and I'm also probably available Sunday at 1 if you wanna, tune in if you wanna jump in for that one as well, you could. I think I'll live stream that one
What
if
is
you have
that? At
time.
noon? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
right,
I'm
noon
in.
your time on Sunday, yeah. Alright, also, is John Madden rolling for Super Chat, is John Madden rolling in his grave? Steelers in. Not sure exactly what that's referring to, but, yes, the Steelers are in the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah, they're in. Um, I don't know. That's a weird tangent, but thanks for the super chat. We appreciate it. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
like you said, our schedule coming up Wednesday, we're gonna have our wild card round prediction show, as we do every week. We're gonna do predict every game.
Mhm.
Um, then Saturday night, 7:15, we are gonna go live for Patriots Bills.
Yeah,
Sun
7:15 Central Time, so that would be
oh,
8:15
8:15.
Eastern.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
reading my own clock. Sorry.
You're good.
Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern time. That is
Mhm.
Bill or not Bills,
Nope.
Buccaneers,
Mhm.
Eagles live, and
Uh-huh.
then recap show live Monday night after the Cardinals and Rams. Should be good stuff. Exciting week ahead.
Yeah, should be going live 3 days in a row then. Should be a lot of fun. Playoffs are happening. And Kyle, the Bengals are back on a Saturday afternoon playoff game. That's where they belong.
No, they should bring Andy Dalton out for this game, right? They should just have him on the sideline.
Uh-huh. Yeah, keep away. What was it? TJ Yates or TY Yates? From
TJ Yates,
Houston.
wasn't it?
TJ Yates, I think that was it. He was the one who beat them in a playoff game with the Texans, right? It was always Bengals Texans. Like that was what it was for. I feel like seemingly 10 years in a row they played each other Saturday afternoon.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm for it though. I mean, let's
Yeah,
bring the Texans out too. I don't care.
sure. Why not? Davis Mills playoffs. I love it. All right. Thank you to everyone for watching, especially people staying up this late on the East Coast. You must be as big of a football addict as we are. If you're really staying up this late, or if you're watching after the fact or listening after the fact, we do appreciate you. Kyle, let them know where they can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow him. That's at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Grondin on Twitter. Make sure to follow the account page that's at on the sideline JK. That is at on the sideline JK.
Yes, of course. Yeah, thank you again. We do appreciate it. And Kyle, any final thoughts?
Playoff time, baby. Let's get it.
Mhm.
Patriots are back. Excited for that. Dolphins fans, you can enjoy watching us from home.
Oh,
Um, I'm still mad. And should be good stuff.
yeah, should be fun. Very much looking forward to it. Again, thank you to everybody. We do appreciate it. And of course, as always, Kyle, you want to say it?
See you later, alligator.
Peace.
Peace.